Hi there again. Just another quick point and shoot video on, well, as the title says, my 3 favourite attachments for the Rhinoceros, the XN08. We'll go through them now. It won't be too long a video. One thing that I would consider, not just my favourite, but an essential item for one of these machines is the quick hitch. To be quite honest, this is a bit more of a semi-quick hitch. You have to remove this pin and get a spanner here, and there's two, I suppose, there's a half round jaw, there's a fixed half round jaw, another half round jaw, then actually squeezes in between these two 25mm pins. I mean, they're useful on any machine, but particularly on a small digger like this, because you change to be swapping and changing quite a bit. That's why you've got a machine like this, because you're doing a lot of different jobs with it. So you might be doing footings, clearing, loading, digging a trench to put some cable in, or drainage or whatever. So the quick hitch, I think, for one of these machines is essential, albeit you get this extra distance on here, and it makes the rotation of the bucket a little bit funky. It's, I suppose what I'm trying to say, the swing on the bucket isn't as nice as if it was attached directly to the end of the arm here. But I think that's a bit of a compromise. The advantages far outweigh. You're not bashing these pins in and out every 2 minutes when you change your bucket. You can notice I got rid of the stupid R clip. I don't know if I opened this up, but it's got a, well, I call them a lynch pin. I don't know what the proper name for them is. But I'm going to actually do a mod on this to make it easier to use, because these jaws that grip it in stone, these sort of half circles, you see one of the jaws down here, you need to do a fair number of turns on that to get it to release the bucket. You could of course use a small impact wrench on it with a socket on it, undo this and whiz it off, but what I think, you're not always going to want to take your impact gun with you, and trying to keep things simple is, I think what I'm going to do is make some sort of little slide or mechanism here that you take the pin out, and then you would slide, basically made a sliding spacer, so a spacer, perhaps a square section, you would slide over out the way, which allows you, so you only have to slacken this bolt off a little bit, and that, by sliding the spacer over or swinging the spacer out the way, you would immediately be able to move that jaw straight out the way. So I'm on in the future of the winter when I'm not busy using the machine. But yeah, I think an essential bit of kit for one of these. Anyway, so my favourite, and I consider an essential. The other two things are, which I've really been impressed with, is this 500mm bucket. I suppose you call it a grading bucket. It's got a bit of a blade on it there, but this is just, in fact, originally the company sent me the wrong machine, which I sent back, and in fact they sent that with a 200, a 300 and a 600mm bucket, and I could tell straight away when I saw the bucket, that 100mm, I could tell it wasn't going to be quite as useful. Better for grading, but not as useful. I'm going to try and do this one-handed, but the 500mm bucket means, excuse me, whoops, sorry about that, means you can actually see if we can get it all lined up here. Load a barrow that way easily without spinning. You can see a 600mm would just be too much. We could actually, obviously easy enough to load a barrow that way. The other thing it's really good for is getting in dumpy bags. I'm sure you could with a 600, but the 500 just gives you that little bit more room in the bucket, and actually it's a reasonable digging bucket as long as the ground's not hard, and a reasonable grading bucket. And I was quite happy with having the 500mm bucket, although some would consider it a bit narrow for a grading, because I've also bought an 800mm hydraulic tilting bucket. But this bucket is a really good all-rounder. My other favourite item is this ripping hook. And this has been a bit of a godsend, and it's one of the reasons I bought one of these machines, because I think it came in, I had a bit of a deal, but I think retail, I think they're about 145, 150 quid from the company, these ripping hooks. Okay, it's welded up, it's not got a removable tooth, but hey, how long is that going to take to wear down? You can see on here, this property is actually, well, you can't actually see, but we're actually built on rock here. Let's just walk over here and you get an idea. So we're built on rock, so we put some drainage here, and actually the rock is quite not very deep below the surface, and I managed to do a good drainage change with using a like a breaker, a reasonable size breaker, and the ripping hook, which has got 25mm pins. Also, I was taking some stumps out over the other side, and it's great for taking stumps out. You can get the end in between the roots. You can curl the equivalent to curling the hook over. You can rip the roots and tear the roots. So there's a bus just going past, or a van. So excuse the noise. So yeah, really useful. I'm sure you could use it. I've actually used it. A bit of hard ground is just tear up the ground a little bit before you get a normal bucket on it. So really useful. I'm pleased with that, and the 500mm bucket. And of course, it came with the, well, actually, it's supposed to come with a 200 and a 300, but it came with a 200 and a 400. I think it's a bit of the luck of the draw with sometimes what you get. Anyway, that's enough for now. So hope that when you're looking for a machine, it helps you perhaps make a bit of a choice.